Well, it is an honor to be here. Today is Groundhog Day. So, I have a story about Punxsutawney Phil. Now, Punxsutawney Phil is from Pennsylvania, but this takes place in New Hampshire. So here's something Punxsutawney Phil probably never predicted: jail time. But a police force in snow-beleaguered New Hampshire said on social media Tuesday that it wants to see the weather forecasting groundhog really spend some time in the hole. The Merrimack Police Department posted a joke on its Facebook page demanding Punxsutawney Phil's arrest for failing to predict just how bad this year's winter would be. He told several people that winter would last 6 more weeks. However, he failed to disclose that it would consist of mountains of snow, the department wrote under a picture of the groundhog from the film Caddyshack. If you see him, do not approach him, as he is armed and dangerous. Call Merrimack Police. We will certainly take him into custody. Snowbound citizens of Merrimack eagerly got in on the joke. The post got more than 4,000 likes and nearly 700 comments, with many offering details on recent Phil sightings and suggestions on how to nab him. One person, Peggy Graves, pretended to be the groundhog's attorney, writing, "Quite simply, Mr. Phil was asked how to predict how much longer winter would last. He correctly did so, thus fulfilling his legal obligations. He was asked not to predict details pertaining to the weather. Therefore, he was under no legal obligation to provide any." My brother-in-law watches the news first thing in the morning and has it on most of the day. I've watched him work himself into an angry, fuming, hot mess where you can't even talk to him. It's no wonder he has health issues. Needless to say, he is all gloom and doom about the future. Maybe he's right. How can anyone be optimistic about the future? 39 and a half years ago, when I got married, I swore I would not have any kids ever. I have 2. Didn't work out that way. Why? I was afraid of what the world would be like for them. Some would say it's even worse now. How do we stop ourselves from going down the rabbit hole of hopelessness and despair? I ask myself, how would I minister to my brother-in-law? Here's what I would say to him. I would ask him to limit his exposure to the news. I would give him a book on daily joy so he could start his day on a positive note. Because both those things worked for me. This is what Kenny Wiley writes about Maya Angelou. Maya Angelou turned 40 on April 4th, 1968. She had planned a big party in Harlem with many of the day's Black intellectual elite among the guests. History had other ideas. Dr. King's assassination sent Angelou into a weeks-long depression. It was fellow writer James Baldwin who helped her dig out of it. Angelou recalls Baldwin's assistance in her book, A Song Flung Up to Heaven, where she writes that laughter and ancestral guidance got her through. There was very little, this is a quote, there was very little serious conversation. The times were so solemn and the daily news so somber that we snatched mirth from unlikely places and gave servings of it to one another with both hands. I told Jimmy I was so glad to laugh. Jimmy said, "We survived slavery. You know how we survived? We put surviving into our poems and into our songs. We put it into our folk tales. We danced surviving in Congo Square in New Orleans and put it in our pots when we cooked pinto beans. We knew if we wanted to survive, we had better lift our own spirits. So we laughed whenever we got the chance. End quote. We got the diagnosis of autism when my son was 3.5 years old. For kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade, my son attended the inclusion program at Pulaski Elementary in Meriden, Connecticut, which is how I started my teaching career, by the way. This is a poem I wrote for my son a couple of years ago. He turned 30 last September. His conception was an accident, the postpartum depression, a foreshadowing. Developmentally delayed, he didn't speak in sentences, expressing his anger and frustration through physical means. The postpartum depression, a foreshadowing, lashing out at whoever was near, expressing his anger and frustration through physical means. The floor dropping away upon hearing autism. Lashing out at whoever was near, obsessed with Disney movies, Star Trek, and certain t-shirts. The floor dropping away upon hearing the word autism. No little league, no prom, no wife in his future. Obsessed with Disney movies, Star Trek, and certain t-shirts. Touching deeply the hearts of the people in his world. No little league, no prom, no wife in his future. Teaching his mother deep spiritual truths. Touching deeply the hearts of the people in his world. He doesn't speak in sentences, but says volumes. Teaching his mother deep spiritual truths. His conception was no accident. So my poem should have a subtitle, How I Found My Resilience. Resilience is truly the quality that got me through those tough years. What did I do to develop greater resilience? Because there are things you can do to build up your resilience. I went for a run every morning. I still do, because exercise out in the fresh air is uplifting. I took time for myself every day, even if it was only 10 minutes. I started a meditation practice. I began my day with an uplifting reading with my coffee. And I have a friend who was my son's special ed teacher at Pulaski Elementary. He is the most positive person I have ever known. He gave me hope about my son's future instead of being in despair. And it is a gift I shall always treasure. Hope is a critical ingredient in the ability to have resilience. I also started reading books on spirituality because I felt there was a deeper meaning to the challenges in life. I was able to turn my grief over my son's disability into awareness of a deeper spiritual truth, that the nature of his sacred contract with me is one of helping me grow spiritually so that I can reach my highest potential. I would not be standing here before you if it had not been for my son. I know that. I have gotten into the habit of searching for the deeper meaning in the chaos. My belief is that the chaos is the universe helping the old to be released so that a new order can be established. The late physicist Ilya Prigogine won a Nobel Prize in 1977 for his theory of dissipative structures. This theory states that all complex systems reach a point, and these systems can be subatomic particles to human civilizations. They reach a point where their current level of organization becomes unstable. They crash. When the old system melts down, it can then reform in a better way, free from the influences of the past. He called this event an escape to a higher order. I believe that that is what is happening to us at this time in history. Although the chaos is disturbing and there is great suffering, it's a precursor to greater potential and possibility. Now I wish to share this special poem before going into meditation. This is The Peace of Wild Things by Wendell Berry. When the despair for the world grows in me, and I wake in the night at the least sound, in fear of what my life and my children's lives may be, I go and lie down where the wood drake rests in his beauty on the water, and the great heron feeds. I come into the peace of wild things, who do not tax their lives with forethought of grief. I come into the presence of still water, and I feel above me the day-blind stars, waiting with their light. For a time I rest in the grace of the world, and am free.
This has been a presentation of
the Mattatuck Unitarian Universalist Society,
honoring the earth and all that is.
Learn more at muusct.org or come by any Sunday. All are welcome.